Having a day job is part of life, and for a very long time it's been seen as a thing you must do a certain way and it has to be done this way. But times are changing. Some jobs are still better than others, perceptively, of course. But there is an increase online of people talking about different jobs and what's available, especially working from home. I've been working full-time in Web3 for just over a year now, and I'm now moving into consultancy or freelance, or I don't really know what to call it, but I'm working for myself now. And having worked with startups, I wanted to make a video for anyone that might be interested in getting involved in a startup, especially in Web3. In any profession, whether you're in business or construction or entrepreneurship or marketing or corporate worlds or whatever, you're going to have both good days and bad days. And I wanted to paint a picture for people that wanted to get involved in startups of what the good days and the bad days were kind of like by giving a list of some reoccurring themes and features involved in working with Web3 startups in particular. I think these would cover startups as a whole pretty well, but I've only worked in Web3 startups majoritively, so I can only really speak about them. So let's start with some of the good points. Usually start with the good things. Now, the first part on this list is that you can get creative. I'm a creative person. I think all people are somewhat born to be creative. It's what helps make us individuals. And you can really practice and work on this working within a startup. It's the kind of culture that any idea is a good idea until someone proves otherwise. So you have to be really willing to speak up and say your point, and you have to be willing to disagree with people, but your creativity can really shine through. And when you get something picked up that works and it all goes well, it's a really, really great feeling. You can get creative with like art if you go towards the content creation and marketing side, or you can get creative with your communication through sales. And then obviously community as well is a huge part of it. Community internally and externally is growing in importance with Web3. There's also so much opportunity within startups. It's so crazy that, you work with this business and there's a possibility or a chance, depending on how hard you work or how good the team is, that it can really, really take off. And, you could be in a startup working for the next multi-billion-dollar business. You will meet some fantastic people, be it the small team that's already working on it, or the people that they introduce you to, or the people that you just come to meet when working within these circles. Networking is really important, and people are always looking to help. Startups are usually always trying to help other startups. And you learn so much. Like, the opportunities that you have to learn is insane. When I first started working in startups, I could barely do market research properly. And now I can target markets and create plans on how and where to launch products and services based on what market would respond to it the best. It's just a really fun experience to get to learn on the job. I think I mentioned this, but there's an amazing culture, absolutely fantastic culture working in startups, because everybody wants to learn, everybody wants to help, everyone kind of works together and does all loads of different parts of the jobs, and they all do it together. Obviously, you have like investor relations, which like CEO and like COO and CSO, they're dealing with more operations and actual like running and like technology officers, they deal with the actual ins and outs of the this is this and this is that. So if that's something that you want to get involved in, then you could do that through a startup, definitely. And I imagine it would be easier to do that and cheaper, definitely, to do that than to study operations or study finance or study strategy at uni for 4 years and then, try and find a job there. It makes more sense to me to do 4 years working in a startup as a second hand, and then you'll learn so much more. There's so much passion and dedication behind people that work in startups, especially the core team whose idea it is, the CEO and co-founders. It's really, really inspiring to see people who usually have worked in an industry for 30 years, 40 years, really want to do something themselves, and seeing someone doing all the necessary steps. I love it. I think it's super inspiring. massive shout out to all of the startup founders that are grinding and hustling through it, because it's not easy. You know, there's stress, there's arguments, there's disagreements, but it all comes down to that goal of what they want to achieve. And they're so good at communicating that. You learn so much, be it about communication or actual operation or strategy or growth, or you learn so much working in a startup. Kind of tagging onto that, I just think it's amazing fun working in startups. Like I said, everyone wants to learn. I enjoy learning, especially about things that I care about. GCSEs and A-level stuff that you've got to do, not interested, but stuff that I want to learn about. You can just kind of focus on that for a bit and then work with that team and see how you can help, and then work with another team. As long as you're kind of producing results, then it's really, really good fun. And again, you just meet so many people. I'm a communicable person. I like talking to the camera, to YouTube, to these 15 people that keep watching my videos. Thank you so much. I really enjoy speaking to people in person. I absolutely love it. I just came off a meeting with some friends of mine who are in property, and that was a really, really fun meeting, just talking about the market, talking about how they've been running it. If you want to see a video on that, let me know. But there are some really, really good things about working in startups. Now, I'm not going to say that it's all singing, dancing, happy and laughing, because as I said at the start, there are good points and there are bad points of working in a startup. And some of the bad points are the uncertainty, right? This goes without saying, really, but just as likely, if not, in fact, no more likely, that this business becoming the next multi-billion-dollar business is the fact that it's not going to work. And you have to live with that uncertainty, that concern that what if there's cuts? What if there's budget? What if I get let go? And it's much more paramount in working in a startup than working for a big firm or a big agency or a large company. Like when it comes to times of economic hardship, like we're in now with inflation hitting all-time highs and no one really feeling stable, and Facebook just letting go of 11,000 people, working in startups is super unstable. You can feel like the floor is shaking from underneath you, but you just got to work through that and keep hustling through it, you know. And if you're not happy with unstable and instability, then I wouldn't recommend startup. It can be concerning, and it definitely leaves you in this kind of uncomfortable, uncertain space. But hey, that's where growth happens, right? I think like any job as well, it can be mentally taxing. You can get pulled around a lot. As I said, one of the benefits is being able to do lots of different things. When you're used to doing a lot of things, sometimes you can just get pulled in one direction and pulled in another and pulled in another. And it's important to be able to respectfully say no and be able to say, hey, look, no, I'm doing this right now. I need to get this finished before I take on this. But this is the same in any job, I think. You should never take on more than you can handle. Always finish what you're working on and then move on to the next thing, which is much easier said than done. If you're not used to working to deadlines as well, even though in startups, usually deadlines are late, stuff gets pushed back. But if you're not used to working to deadlines, then maybe startups wouldn't be great for you, because there are loads of deadlines. It's like every single thing that you're doing is to a deadline. So you don't just have like loads of time to do this. It's even if you have to set your own deadlines to get something done so that you can move on to something else in the future, there are serious deadlines. And if an idea takes off, this creativity, it works, it flows, everyone enjoys it, they start putting it forward. There's always that possibility that last minute, it's just going to get stomped out because something happens in the news or there's a shift in the market, or literally anything can happen, which means that idea would have to be completely stopped. So any effort or any time that you put into this project or this program or this campaign could literally be stopped at any point because of any sort of shift. That's another thing to take into account. You can put a lot of work into something that never gets shown. To kind of summarize everything in a sentence or two, I think working from home in startups, especially in Web3, is fantastic. You have amazing freedom. You meet so many people, but on a real level, the uncomfort is very, very high. Now, if you're thinking about going into business or becoming an entrepreneur yourself or trying to climb up the corporate ladder, or I really think just trying to improve as a person in your communication, in your skills, then startups are great. They put you in this really uncomfortable place where you're forced to learn more. You can't just spend all of your time doing the same thing. You have to do lots of different things. It's really good for you. I'd always suggest getting involved in a startup. But if you don't like uncomfort and you don't like instability and you just want something that you can do your 9 to 5 and then move on, then I wouldn't suggest working in a startup. I really appreciate everyone watching. Thank you to all the people that keep liking and commenting. I really, really appreciate it. I had some really lush comments the other day, and it really made me feel nice, that I'm making this content, people are watching it and they're enjoying it and they're learning from it as well. Because I'm still learning. I'm technically still a Web3 enthusiast, even though I've worked in startups and trying to start my own business, my consultancy business. I'm still an enthusiast, and I just want to meet as many people who are also enthusiasts in the space. So please reach out on any of my social media, Sam Speaks Straight, or you can find the links in the description below. And if you want to see me make a video on anything else Web3 related or startup related, or you want to hear more about what I'm doing, then please let me know. I'd love to share that with you. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.